Hey there, you beautiful explorers of the digital and the derelict. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of movies and games inspired by real abandoned places. You know, those creepy atmospheric locations that make you wonder, what happened here? Well, buckle up because we're about to go on a wild ride through the history of these places. Whether you're a hardcore gamer, a film fanatic, or just someone who enjoys a good dose of the macabre, this video is for you. So grab your hazmat suit, pack your favorite snacks, preferably something non-perishable, and get ready to explore the eerie beauty of abandoned places. Let's kick things off with a classic, Silent Hill. This iconic horror franchise draws inspiration from Centralia, Pennsylvania. Imagine a place where the earth is on fire, shrouding the town in fog. That's Centralia, a coal mine fire ignited in 1962 and has been burning ever since. The developers cited Centralia's tragic story and ambiance as key inspirations. Just remember to pack a gas mask. Next up, we're venturing into the post-apocalyptic wasteland of Fallout 3. This critically acclaimed RPG throws players into a desolate Washington, D.C., ravaged by nuclear war. But did you know that many of the game's locations are inspired by real-world landmarks? One such landmark is the National Mall, now known as the National Mall ruins in the game. Remember those iconic monuments like the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial? Well, in Fallout 3, they're crumbling reminders of a bygone era. The game's developers used real-world data and photographs to recreate these landmarks, albeit in their post-apocalyptic glory. This attention to detail is part of what makes Fallout 3 so immersive. It allows players to explore a world that feels both familiar and alien, grounding the game's fantastical elements in a sense of realism. Just, watch out for the death claws. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to enter the overgrown ruins of The Last of Us. This action-adventure masterpiece takes us on a journey through a post-pandemic United States. Abandoned cities, where lush vegetation bursts through concrete and buildings stand draped in vines. Take, for instance, the abandoned city of Pripyat, Ukraine. After the Chernobyl disaster, Pripyat was evacuated and left to the elements. The developers drew inspiration from Pripyat and other abandoned cities to create the game's overgrown environments. Chernobyl Diaries: Fact blends with fiction. Now, let's switch gears to a found-footage horror flick that'll make you think twice about extreme tourism, Chernobyl Diaries. This chilling film follows a group of friends who decide to explore the abandoned city of Pripyat, only to encounter horrors far beyond their wildest nightmares. While the film takes creative liberties with its monsters and scares, its setting is very much rooted in reality. Pripyat, as we discussed earlier, is a ghost town frozen in time. Its buildings, schools, and amusement park left eerily untouched since the 1986 disaster. The filmmakers behind Chernobyl Diaries traveled to Pripyat to capture its unsettling atmosphere firsthand. So, if you're a fan of horror movies that leave you with a lingering sense of unease, Chernobyl Diaries is worth adding to your watch list. Metro 2033. Seeking refuge in the Moscow Metro. Next stop, the tunnels of the Moscow Metro. No, we're not talking about a relaxing commute. We're talking about the post-apocalyptic world of Metro 2033. This first-person shooter drops players into a world where nuclear war has forced humanity to seek shelter underground. The game's setting is inspired by the real-life Moscow Metro, a sprawling network of underground tunnels and stations that served as bomb shelters during World War II. The game draws heavily on the history and design of the real Moscow Metro, with many stations resembling their real-world counterparts. So the next time you're riding the subway, or, battling mutated creatures in a post-apocalyptic tunnel. Take a moment to appreciate the history and ingenuity of these underground marvels. Resident Evil survival horror in a Spanish nightmare. Get ready for some zombie dodging action, because we're heading into the world of Resident Evil. While the series has taken us to various locations, one of the most memorable settings is the Spanish village from Resident Evil 4. This rural nightmare with its eerie atmosphere and parasitic villagers is loosely based on real-world villages in rural Spain. The developers wanted to create a sense of isolation and dread, a place where the line between reality and nightmare blurs. So, if you're ever planning a trip to rural Spain, just remember to pack some extra ammo and maybe a chainsaw. You know, just in case. Let's journey back to the exclusion zone, shall we? This time, we're diving into the world of Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. This atmospheric first-person shooter throws players into the zone, a fictionalized and highly dangerous area surrounding the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The game draws heavily from the real-life Chernobyl exclusion zone, a restricted area established after the 1986 disaster. The developers of Stalker used real-world photographs, maps, and even visited the Chernobyl exclusion zone to capture its unique atmosphere. The game's depiction of abandoned buildings, overgrown forests, and eerie anomalies reflects the real-life challenges and dangers faced by those who venture into the exclusion zone. Just remember to pack your radiation suit. BioShock: Underwater Utopia Gone Wrong. Prepare to dive into an underwater city with a dark secret, because we're exploring the world of BioShock. This critically acclaimed first-person shooter takes players to Rapture, an underwater metropolis built on the ideals of objectivism, where science knows no bounds. While the city itself is fictional, its design and themes draw inspiration from real-world underwater habitats and experiments. One such inspiration is the Conshelf Project, a series of underwater living experiments conducted by Jacques Cousteau in the 1960s. So, as you explore Rapture's crumbling architecture and encounter its genetically altered inhabitants, remember that beneath the surface of this fictional city lies a reflection of our own fascination with the unknown depths and the potential consequences of our actions. The Evil Within. A descent into madness. Buckle up for a wild ride through a twisted mindscape, because we're delving into the world of the evil within. This survival horror masterpiece throws players into a nightmarish world where reality bends and twists, leaving you questioning what's real and what's not. While much of the Evil Within's setting exists within the mind of its protagonist, Sebastian Castellanos, some elements draw inspiration from real-world abandoned psychiatric hospitals. So, as you navigate the twisted corridors and encounter the grotesque creatures of the evil within, remember that you're not just exploring a video game world, but confronting the darkest corners of the human psyche. Control secrets. Hidden in plain sight. Enter a world where reality is fluid and mysteries abound with Control. Play as Jesse Faden, the new director of the Federal Bureau of Control, studying paranormal phenomena. The Oldest House, a building outside of time and space, is your setting. Inspired by real government buildings and secret research facilities. Its brutalist architecture and hidden rooms reflect real-world secrecy and intrigue. Explore the Oldest House, where reality is subjective and truth is stranger than fiction. Well, there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the eerie beauty of real abandoned places and the incredible ways they've inspired some of our favorite movies and games. From the fog-choked streets of Silent Hill to the underwater ruins of Rapture, these stories remind us that even in decay and desolation, there's a haunting beauty to be found. If you enjoyed this journey into the abandoned, give this video a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments which location creeped you out the most. Thanks for watching. And remember, the next time you see an abandoned building or an overgrown path, don't be afraid to wonder about the stories those places hold.